Hello, and welcome back to Teacher Jeff 40K. Today, I wanted to do something a little different. So, I have made some videos about Space Marine weapons in the past, but I basically covered, the standard weapons you can find throughout the Space Marine codex and what they do. Today, what I would like to do is go over some of my most favorite and least favorite options. So, can you say most favorite? Is that too many superlatives? That's probably not important. Okay, so my top options and my bottom options, or choices rather, for the Space Marine Codex. So this is going to be based on point effectiveness, so how good it is for the points that it costs, how good it is at its intended job. So was this weapon designed to take out infantry? Does it do a good job at that? And finally, also its synergy with the unit or units that it can go with. So I will be I'm thinking of all these things when choosing the options that I believe are the best and the worst. I will not be covering any of the special war gear, either the relics. I'm not going to look at those because they're all solid. But I'm also not going to look at any of these special character weapons. I'm not going to look at any of that stuff either. I'm looking at the general or more standard issue stuff. Some things are exclusive to one unit. Some are spread across many. So first, I'll go over the good stuff. My top choices in the Space Marine Codex for weapons. And this is both melee and shooting. I'm picking a little bit from both. So, at the top and the most obvious, so I won't be wasting too much time on this, the las cannon. It is the Imperium's tank hunting or monster hunting weapon. It's fantastic. You can get these almost anywhere, which is really what's awesome about them, is they can be spammed, for lack of a better term. So you can take them, like I have, on Devastators. You can throw one into a tactical squad if you want to, but they also come on a myriad of vehicles. So you can get these almost anywhere. And again, not exclusive to Space Marines. I mean, they're across the different Space Marine chapters, the Imperium, what have you. Very good. What really makes this guy shine as a tank and monster killer is the fact that it is strength 9. So it's got -3 AP, that's amazing. D6 damage is great. Long range, very good. The strength 9 is really its top selling point. So if you have a monster or a vehicle that is particularly tough, so toughness 8, for example, the las cannon is still going to be wounding it on 3s, which is very, very, very good. So there are a lot of tank hunting weapons like the missile launcher and the melt-a-gun that are strength 8, which is very good, but having that strength 9 wounding just a little easier is always good, especially with one-shot weapons. So las cannon, excellent tank or monster hunting choice. Next, another super obvious one. Again, I won't be covering it in too much detail, but the sniper rifle. It's cheap at only 4 points. You can equip your entire squad of scouts with sniper rifles, so you can get a lot of shots. And the range is decently good at 36 inches, but of course it's the mortal wounds on a 6 mechanic that really make this good. So on a wound roll of 6, you will deal a mortal wound in addition to the other wound you're dealing. That's huge. So I would take these guys even if it was a mortal wound instead of regular damage. But the fact that you get both is super, super harsh, and you can have a lot of these guys, and they can be relatively cheap. Very solid. Next, I guess at this point I think I'm going to be going from no, I was going to say I was going from most obvious to least obvious, but that's not true at all. Next, moving on, the Plasma Incinerator. for the Hellblasters. This gun's really good. This gun's really, really good. So, like all plasma weapons, it's pretty high strength. You could overcharge it, but it's got better range than most plasma guns. So it's got 30-inch range. But like the las cannon, this guy shines in a place that a lot of other weapons don't quite shine. And the fact is, this guy has got AP -4. And that is really what makes this guy excellent. Normal plasma guns or regular plasma weaponry is AP -3, which is very good, but AP -4 is so brutal. That means anything in power armor just doesn't get a save. Just melted away. Anything with a 3+ save, no save. Done. So these are ideal for hunting down other Marines, Chaos Marines, anything with 3-up saves. This guy melts it. Just goes straight through. And with the ability to overcharge and deal 2 damage with that same -4 AP, devastating. And each of these guns is only 15 points, which is 2 points more than a regular plasma weapon. Amazing choice. Also, you can, as you may know, equip an entire squad with these. So you just get a bunch of those plasma shots. Very solid. Next, I wanted to cover something that I've sort of already covered in another video. So again, I won't be going into too much detail. That is the special issue Boltgun for the Stern Guard veterans. Now, this has changed over the editions. I think I spoke about this, like I said, in my Stern Guard video. But this guy, this weapon, has a better range than your average Boltgun. It's -2 AP, which is really solid. But I think its greatest strength is, yes, it does a great job at what it's intended to do. You can have a ton of them in a squad. Every guy in the squad can get a special issue Boltgun. But where it really, really shines is the fact that it costs 2 points. And that is so worth it, because you can get a whole squad of 5 Stern Guard veterans with special issue Boltguns for 90 points. That's fantastic. These guys will melt light infantry like it's nothing and give heavy infantry a very, very hard time. Special issue Boltguns, a solid, reliable, cheap choice. There's even a special stratagem in the Space Marine Codex that allows you to add 1 to the wound rolls of your special issue Boltguns. Very good choice. Next, I wanted to talk about a very obvious option. Not an obvious option, but a very common, ubiquitous option. And that is the Storm Bolter. I love the Storm Bolter in this edition. I really do. And I'll tell you why. There are a lot of reasons why I love it. 1, it's crazy cheap. It's only 2 points. 2, it now has more shots than it used to. So in previous editions, the Storm Bolter was Assault 2, which means you always get 2 shots even at the max range. Now it's Rapid Fire 2, which means at max range you still get the 2 shots, but at half range you get 4 shots. That is excellent. So that's why I love this guy. And then also, it can be equipped on almost anything, and you can just sort of throw them on everywhere. They're a great gun to fill out a list. Let's say, for example, I mean, how often have you been at like 1996 points or 1998 points? What do I do? Throw a Storm Bolter on something. Easy stuff, and it's always going to do its job, and you're never going to be disappointed with it for the point cost. Special mention goes to the fact that you can now put 2 on a Rhino and have 2 Storm Bolters on a Rhino and get some decent shots out of the Rhino for once. You can make a whole squad of veterans with Storm Bolters and Chainswords and make them really cheap, but also incredibly good at dealing with light infantry. You can put them on almost anything. Give them to your, tactical Marine Sergeant as a cheap upgrade. You don't want to necessarily give him too much because he's a 1-wound model, but give him a Storm Bolter and a Chainsword. Gives him an extra attack in close combat, gives him extra shots in shooting. Always a good choice. Storm Bolter, very good. Next, Like the Stormbolter, the twin bolt gun that is equipped on bikes, again, I won't go over this just because it's the same profile as the Stormbolter. It's just also 2 points and very good for what it does. But I brought it up because I also have this model here. This is a Scout Biker, and he is equipped with an Astartes shotgun. That's another weapon I wanted to talk about. The Astartes shotgun is free. So it costs you nothing. It's strength 4, which is stronger than everybody else's shotguns, and at half range, it's strength 5, which is awesome. So the reason I picked this one out, because it's not an amazing gun. It's strength 5, AP nothing, 1 damage. It's not going to liquefy anything. But it's free, and it adds to the shooting attacks that Scout bikes already have. They just take these things for free. So you get the shots from the twin bolt gun and the shots from the shotgun, which is excellent. You can take shotguns on Scouts, and it's not a bad call because they're, again, free. You just have to trade out your bolter for them. So do you want those Scouts to be closer range or longer range? It's up to you. But I brought it up specifically, I think, for the Scout bike, just because it's extra shots for absolutely free. They can be up to strength 5, which is really good. So yeah, Scout shotgun, or Astartes shotgun, excuse me, but basically Scout shotgun because no one else can take them. Next, I'd like to get into a couple of melee weapons that I think are quite good. The Dreadnought Chain Fist. So that's this guy here. We'll just pop that off. Dreadnought Chain Fist. Also, it's got a melt-a-gun here. Melt-a-guns are good. But we're not talking about melt-a-guns. So let's put that like there so you can't see the melt-a-gun. No, that's silly. Dreadnought Chain Fist. Super strong. Super good. Amazing for hunting tanks. So this is an exclusive to the Ironclad Dreadnought, which I've got right here. You can't take the Dreadnought Chain Fist on a regular Dreadnought, even though it's called the Dreadnought Chain Fist, which would lead you to believe that you could take it on a Dreadnought. But you can take it on an Ironclad Dreadnought, which is what it's made for. Reasons this are good. Reasons this is good. Grammar. It's really good because it attacks at strength times 2. And the base strength of an Ironclad Dreadnought is 6, meaning its attacks are at strength 12. Strength 12, minus 4 AP. So typical Dreadnought close combat weapons are minus 3. Dreadnought Chain Fist is minus 4. And it's a flat 4 damage, which is so good. It's so good. I would take flat 4 damage over D6 any day of the week. Super reliable, incredibly good AP, but also the Dreadnought Chain Fist has no negatives to hit on it, like other weapons like the Power Fist or the Seismic Hammer. It doesn't suffer from that. So he hits at his regular weapon skill at minus 4 damage each time it goes through. And if you've got this guy equipped with 2 close combat weapons, he naturally rerolls 1s in close combat. Strong as hell. Ideal for hunting down monsters and tanks. So, next melee weapon I'd like to come to is one, again, sort of a little less obvious than the Dreadnought Chain Fist, which, by the way, the Dreadnought Chain Fist is 46 points, and it is worth every single point of that. I would pay up to 60 points for this thing because it is so strong. Anyhow, a little less obvious than the Dreadnought Chain Fist. And that one is the Power Maul. Now, unfortunately, a lot of Marine models don't. Rather, as a Marine player, if you buy Marine kits, it is hard to find Power Maul pieces. This one I actually managed to sort of custom make. It is, if you look at this, it's actually not a Space Marine arm. That's a Tempestus Scion arm. And I managed to convert his command rod into a Power Maul. So Power Maul is basically a mace. It's a power mace. And the reason that I like this guy, and I think it's so good, is because of the profile Marines have, so Strength 4, makes this a very versatile and cheap weapon. So like other power weapons, 1, it has gone down in points significantly from last edition. 4 points for a Power Maul. Very, very good. So it's 4 points. It's Strength plus 2, which means your base strength of 4 is going up to 6. Strength 6 is capable of wounding a lot more things, but also against like garbage infantry, like toughness 3 things, you wound them on 2s, which is massive. And it's got an AP -1, which is not amazing, but still quite good. So for 4 points, I think the Power Maul is very, very solid. The other power weapons are good, and there's always been a discussion, you know, what's the best one? And ultimately it comes down to what are you going to face? And then you should, you know, decide on your weapon. But I think the Power Maul does the all-rounder job the best. It's much stronger, and it's very, very cheap. The Power Axe is very good too. It's 1 point more though. It does have a -2 AP, which is very solid. And then the Power Sword is no bonus to strength, but -3 AP, which is solid. But I think the Power Maul is the winner in general of all of those weapons. And it's just kind of sad to note that you can't really find it in many kits. But I will give this to Games Workshop. Typically, they've been canceling out weapons or all sorts of options that are not included in their box sets. So they've been taken out of codexes and stuff like that. But the Power Maul has stayed in, which is fantastic. So that's really good. And then I want to make one small honorable mention. I don't think it's a true solid winner for its point cost, but I wanted to mention the Power Fist. The Power Fist is cheaper now more than ever. It's 12 points. And on a Marine, it is so very strong. I wouldn't be equipping Sergeants with Power Fists just because they only get like 2 attacks. But anything that's got 3 or more attacks, I would equip with a Power Fist. It's Strength 8, because it's ×2, -3 AP, and D3 damage. Now, of course, there is that negative to hit, and that's why it kind of doesn't quite make the list. It's still very good, though. So that, along with a couple other honorable mentions. The Predator autocannon, very good, because it deals 3 flat damage. So similar to that Dreadnought Chain Fist, the flat damage is so reliable that it makes the weapon worthwhile. And the Flamestorm Cannon, which comes on the sides of a Land Raider Redeemer. Very good flamer weapon. It does suffer from the flamer, the way flamers work in 8th edition, the D6 roll for the number of hits. So it can totally whiff on you and you can get 1 hit. But it's Strength 6, -2 AP, 2 damage. Very, very strong. And you get 2 of them on the Land Raider. So those are the ones I wanted to go over in terms of solid weapons. Also, actually, honorable mention to the Sky Spear missile launcher. This is available exclusively on the Hunter tank, which is an anti-aircraft tank. It is the same profile as a las cannon, only it's got 12 inches more range. It adds 1 to hit against flyers, and you re-roll all failed hits with it. Its only drawbacks are that it's only 1 gun on the tank. That's it. Otherwise, it is super strong and super devastating, and it's a free weapon. It'll cost you 0 points. So you pay the points for the tank, the Hunter, and you just get this Sky Spear missile launcher, which is effectively a anything hunting las cannon. Very solid choice. So now I would like to get to the stuff at the bottom. The ones I think are kind of the losers in the Space Marine Codex. And there are a couple. Some of them more so than others. So I'll go over a couple of the ones that I've got here. And first, I'll show you this. So I talked about drop pods recently. Now, the drop pod has 2 weapon options. You can take a Storm Bolter, which I've already told you I am in love with, or you can take something called a Deathwind Missile Launcher. That's this guy that like rotates. Here, I'm going to try and get it to rotate in here. Woo! There you go, so you can spin around and shoot things. So, Deathwind Missile Launcher is the other option for a drop pod. It costs more than the Storm Bolter at 5 points, which is not a lot, but the problem is the Storm Bolter, in my mind, wins every time. The Storm Bolter has double the range, and you get up to 4 shots with it. The only issue is that the Storm Bolter's strength 4. The Deathwind Missile Launcher is D6, which is... I've never liked that, the random number of shots. So it could be 6 shots, sure. But it's D6 shots at 12 inches. So it's even less range. And probably, like, overall fewer shots, just at strength 5 for more points. So in this case, I wouldn't call the Deathwind Missile Launcher terrible. I'd just call it not good, and I would take a Storm Bolter every single time on this. 1, to keep the point cost of this thing, which is already expensive, a little farther down, and 2, for sheer reliability and range. That's it. So Deathwind, kind of garbage. Another one that fits into that kind of garbage range is the Astartes Grenade Launcher. So I spoke about the Astartes shotgun that you can equip on scout bikes. They do have an option to take an Astartes Grenade Launcher. And it is disappointing in just about every way. So what I mean by that is, 1, it's incredibly expensive at 11 points. So you would have to unequip one of your 2-point weapons, this twin bolt gun, for an 11-point weapon that is assault 1, so it's got 1 shot, and it basically is the grenades that you already have, frag and crack grenades, at a longer range. That's it. It's strength 3, D6 shots. That's garbage. That's a grenade, just with longer range, 24 inches. And then there's the crack grenade as well, which is the same profile as a crack grenade, just longer range. The anti-infantry option is trash, and I would never use it, and I would much rather have a twin bolt gun every single day of the week. And the anti-tank one is like, it's 1 shot, and like in a squad, so in a squad of scout bikers, you can only take up to 2 of those grenade launchers. So that's only a maximum potential of 2 of those grenade shots for 22 points. Put your points somewhere else. Yeah, the Astartes Grenade Launcher is one of the trashiest options in the codex, for sure. Definitely one of the worst. Next, I wanted to look at, the Mastercrafted Auto Bolt Rifle. Not only is it a waste of time to say, it's a waste of time to pay points for. So, a lot of the new characters, like the Primaris characters, captains and lieutenants and stuff, have access to a wide variety of different kinds of special bolt guns. Now, there's one of them, this Mastercrafted Auto Bolt Rifle, just seems like a waste of time. It's 4 points, I think. Let me just check that. Yeah, it's 4 points, which is twice the cost of a Storm Bolter. Now, what does this thing do? I'll tell you. Let me see. Mastercrafted Bolt Gun? No. Mastercrafted Auto Bolt Rifle. I'm looking at the Primaris Captain right now in the Space Marine Codex. 24-inch range, same as a bolter. Assault 2. Congrats. Strength 4, same as a bolter. AP nothing, same as a bolter. 2 damage. Alright, fine, it's 2 damage. There's no AP value, so anything's going to be getting a save against this. it's a one-time equipped weapon on one character, so you can't get a bunch of these to potentially deal a bunch of 2 damage shots. And it's only 2 shots. So that one is a total miss in my book. Some of the other bolt guns are neat because they have like AP negation. So like Mastercrafted Stalker bolt rifle. Yeah, it's a heavy, but at least it's strength 4 minus 2 AP, 2 damage. The minus 2 makes that, again, almost worthwhile. But this Mastercrafted auto bolt rifle is kind of a piece of shit, in my opinion. Again, if you use it and you like it, good on you, but I think it's a waste of points. Yeah, there are better options out there for sure in that sort of category. And then next, another disappointing scout-related weapon, the Cerberus missile launcher. That's this underslung guy right here. So it looks really cool, and what's really neat is that it's called Cerberus, which is a 3-headed dog from hell, and it's got 3 missiles. I always thought that was kind of cool. Nice touch, guys. But it's an exclusive weapon to the Landspeeder Storm. It's got a trash profile, and you have to take it. And even though it's an exclusive option to this vehicle, it still costs you. Not worth it in the least. 18-inch range, D6, so again, that random number of shots, strength 4, AP nothing, 1 damage. It's trash. It's also a heavy weapon on a thing that is going to be moving. It's silly. So I don't like this guy at all. I think it's silly. It's 5 points. That's 5 points too many. If you wanted this to be like auto included on this, it should have been free. Because it's still, it's just not good. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like everything about it. I'd rather just take no other weapon on this. Just leave me the heavy bolter and that's it. Yep, Cerberus launcher. Also garbage. Okay, let's see. What else have we got? Oh, yes. Okay, so a couple of melee weapons, or at least one. This is a Tech Marine. I love Tech Marines. But they're auto-equipped with something that is kind of garbage. And that is the servo arm. And if you want to take the servo harness, which is where you get that plasma gun and the flamer, you have to take another servo arm. So not only is this thing super expensive at 12 points each, you only ever get to make 1 attack with each of them in close combat, which means if you only have 1 servo arm, that's 1 attack with the servo arm. And that servo arm is at -1 to hit because it's unwieldy like a power fist. That's just so trashy. It's 1 attack with an unreliable weapon that costs you 12 points on a guy that should never see combat. This guy should either be back with Thunderfire cannons, inside vehicles repairing them, or next to vehicles repairing them. He should not be engaging in close combat, and you shouldn't have to pay a whopping 24 points to give this guy some guns. So the servo arm, you're garbage. I'm sorry. It's neat, it's fluffy, they look cool. It's trashy on paper. Absolutely trashy. Then there's one more, I think. Let's see. A Starbase grenade launcher, Deathwind missile launcher, Cerberus launcher, servo arm, Mastercrafted auto bolt rifle. Right, the Eviscerator. Wow. There's a trash heap too. So this is mostly because it's a weapon that can only be taken by someone who kind of can't use it properly. So the Eviscerator is a special super big chainsword that is only equipable on an assault marine sergeant only. Or no, wait, let me get my facts straight, because I believe it's actually 1 assault marine can take it. It's not exclusively the sergeant, which is actually even worse, because at least the sergeant has 2 attacks, but regular assault marines only get 1 attack. There we go. Let's see, where is this piece of shit? There you go. For every 5 models in the unit, 1 model may replace its bolt pistol and chainsword with an Eviscerator. So you lose your bolt pistol. Your chainsword, obviously, it's another melee weapon. But this is trash, man. You lose all other weapons, which are free weapons for you, for an Eviscerator. And yeah, you could put it on the Sergeant, who would get 2 attacks with it. But if you're putting 2 in a squad, it means you're putting an Eviscerator on a regular guy who has 1 attack with this weapon. And the profile, while it's super strong, times 2 strength, so 8, minus 4 D3 damage. Super strong, but you still get that minus 1 to hit. So that's a 1 possible hit on a 4+ if you get into close combat. Then you still got to wound it, which is probably going to be easier now that you've got strength 8, but still. So that's really, really silly. Specifically, too, for me, because the unit synergy is bad. You're not really hunting tanks with these things, right? I mean, you've got chain swords, bolt pistols, maybe some plasma pistols or flamers. So some anti-infantry stuff. But then suddenly there's like 1 or 2 attacks that are good against tanks. And that would be fine and all, except the Eviscerator is 22 points for each one. So that's 22 points for 1 attack that hits less and doesn't synergize with the rest of your unit. So you're not attacking, you're just getting a bunch of strength 4 attacks, good at dealing with infantry, with 1 strength 8 super minus AP attack. That just is honestly out of left field. That one is the most extravagantly priced thing ever, and I understand it's high priced because it's super damaging. It sucks on Assault Marines. I think it can be taken on Vanguard veterans, and there I would almost say you could give one to the Sergeant. It actually can't. So the flyer guys that are made for close combat do not have access to this, but Assault Marines do. And this falls into that sort of category too of Games Workshop stuff. It's in the kit so you can use it, which is like in game terms trash. It's because you get an Eviscerator in the Assault Marine kit. Now the Assault Marines can use Eviscerators because they made a new kit, but no one else can. So, hey, an Eviscerator on a captain or something would actually be pretty solid. 22 points is still a little steep, but something with minus 4 AP would be really good on a captain, and he can make use of it with all his attacks. But no, it's on a 1 attack model who also has to replace his bolt pistol. Yeah, Eviscerator, not good. And then finally, there's one more, and it's not an awful weapon, but it's not a good weapon. The Cyclone missile launcher. So this is one that is exclusive to shooty Terminators, who are also just overall not a great unit because they're so expensive in points. They're tough, they have Storm Bolters, which I do love, but their equipment is super limited. So if you take a squad of 5, you have to take Power Fists and then 1 Power Sword, because, again, that's what they've always been equipped with forever, and that's what the kit comes with. You can swap some out for Chain Fists, which are okay, but again, really expensive, and you're sinking the points into these guys. So they do, the Terminators do neither shooting, neither close combat very well at all, and they're incredibly point inefficient. They're very expensive. So for a properly kitted out unit, you're probably going to spend between 2 and 250 points for 5 models. Not great. So specifically the Cyclone missile launcher, the reason I think it's not a good weapon is because it is the same cost as the Typhoon missile launcher. So the Typhoon is the one that's the dual launcher on a land speeder. And it's also available on several of the gunships. The flyers usually have access to the Typhoon. And what the Typhoon is just 2 missile launchers strapped together. So you can choose 2 shots at strength 8 minus 2 d6 damage, or 2 shots, strength 4, no AP, but d6 shots. So one that is more effective against infantry and one that is more effective against tanks. They're both pretty good options, but the reason it's good is because you get to choose. So it's a sort of jack of all trades weapon, very solid. Now the Typhoon missile launcher, for those 2 missile launcher shots, is the same price as 2 missile launchers. Makes sense, right? So instead of 25 points for 1, it's 50 points for 2. That's all well and good. Then the Cyclone missile launcher, that is the Terminator exclusive, is the same points cost for a worse weapon. So first off, the range is cut down to 36 inches from 48. Boom, right away you lose a bunch of your range. Number 2 is that the frag missile, so the one that does D6 strength 4 shots, which was already kind of like not really good, becomes even worse. It's D3 shots per shot. So it's even worse at dealing with massed infantry. It's just not a good weapon for 50 points. And because it's only available on Terminators, you're going to be stacking 50 points onto an already overcosted unit. So Cyclone missile launcher, not good at all. I think that about wraps it up. That's about all the weapons I wanted to talk about. So some pretty good ones, some of the obvious ones, las cannons and sniper rifles, of course, and some of the less obvious ones, like Astartes shotguns and stuff that are just kind of good based on the units they're on, their points cost, and how well they synergize with what you're supposed to do with this unit. So yeah, anyhow, if you have anything that I missed, again, excluding any of the special relics or special character weapons, I don't want to look at that. I know Guilliman's mortal wound dealing sword is good, but if there are any of the sort of more standard issue weapons that I missed out on in the codex, or that you think is particularly either point efficient, efficient at the job it's intended to do, or synergizes well with the unit it's supposed to be on, or a combination of any 3 of those things, please let me know in the codex. I'd love to know. And what do you think is garbage? Just let me know. What do you think is in the Space Marine Codex trash weapons? Anyhow, thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed.